Hey everybody, AJ the One here. How are y'all doing? And I'm doing fine myself. This will be part 1 to What If Deku was in Invincible, the show. Or better to say the Amazon original. This is only going to go up to the 8 episodes of the Amazon, or the show that's on Amazon Prime. Or the show Invincible. All the same fucking thing. This will only be going up to the 8 episodes. So there might, but just because I don't want it to only be like 8 to 6, 5. I don't want it to be like less than 5 parts. I'm going to actually sort of be developing on how Izuku becomes a hero and where his superpowers come from, how he joins certain teams, what blah blah blah, how he's involved, yada yada yada. So, starting off, when Izuku was born, he is born, yes, Japanese, but because Izuku's mom, I would say Izuku would be 5-year-old when Hasashi would die. So when Hasashi had died, Izuku and his mom had to move to America because she had some family over there who could help them out. So Izuku would have lived, or specifically his aunt and his uncle. So Izuku would have lived with his aunt and uncle for a little while until sometime later that his mom would basically almost, I would say, I wouldn't say dying of exhaustion. It's like she basically worked herself to death, but in a different type of way. I don't really know how to put it. But either way, no, that just sounds goofy. Worked herself to exhaustion, or worked herself to death when she has people that help her out. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to say that she would end up dying to a villain attack. I would say like a random villain like, what is his name? I'm already forgetting names. Shit. The guy with the auto-tuned voice. Damn, what is his name? I know it's like something head. I'm gonna just call him Cyberhead, right? I'm pretty sure that is his name, like Cyberhead, or something like that, or just some random villain attack. She died. So after that point, Izuku was sort of hitting rock bottom. He lived with his aunt and uncle permanently, and now finally his mom and dad are dead. So he would now be living with his aunt and uncle. His aunt's name would be, I would say, since they do originate from Japan, Suchi, and his uncle's name would be Kiyosu. Damn. Kiyosu and Suchi. Boom. Uncle Kiyosu, Aunt Suchi. I would say it would be some years later. I would say Izuku would be 14 years old, as he would be in, I don't think America has junior high. I think it's only just like elementary, middle, high, college. Or university, same difference. As I would say Izuku would be basically, he would be in high school by now. As when Izuku is a freshman in high school, he would end up meeting a kid named Mark. Oh my gosh. This kid named Mark, Izuku and him would get along very well, as they would be friends for most of their lives, or for majority of the rest of their lives. And after some time, Izuku would have figured out that Mark's father is Omni-Man. How? I would say, I don't really think it would be that hard to put together. Izuku literally lives with his aunt and uncle who are more lenient because, well, what he's been through. And then on top of that, he's really good friends. Like, hey, can I come over your house? Sure. They go over his house. They see Omni-Man. Or Mark's dad. Like, you look like Omni-Man. Are you Omni-Man? You have to be Omni-Man. It wouldn't be that hard to figure out. So because Izuku figured out that is Omni-Man, he would think that Mark would have powers, until Mark would tell him that his powers, or I would say Omni-Man would tell Izuku that his powers, or that Mark's powers, will be coming around when he's 17 or 18. Izuku would say that's really cool, and he wished that he had some powers. Until Izuku would keep wishing this throughout the entire time, or not wishing, just keep thinking about it. on how one day Mark can get to be a superhero, while Izuku is just gonna be Izuku. Izuku just gonna be some plain old guy that can't do anything when a hero attacks. That's all Izuku is gonna be? No, that can't be. So when he would go home when he was 14, Izuku is still a hero fanatic. I would even say that Izuku would still fanboy over maybe he would still probably most likely fanboy over Omni-Man. So, either way, back to the original. So Izuku would decide to start working out and to sort of learn, no, not sort of, he would begin to learn martial arts. The two martial arts that he would learn, or the most popular for him, would be karate and kung fu. Izuku, I would say when he hit 15 years old, he would be almost he would almost be a master at it. Pretty much basically a master at it. The only thing that, or at least technique-wise and skill-wise, the only thing that he could improve on at that point is just his body, which is now Izuku's main focus. So Izuku would be about as strong, I would say, as about a grown man. At 15 years old, he's about, I would say, 1 or 2 times stronger than a grown man. So if that's the case, so 1 or 2 times stronger than a grown man, kung fu and karate, Izuku would be very confident in himself to take on a villain or to go out and start saving people. So one day Izuku would just grab a simple jacket which would go over his mouth or slightly over his chin. He would grab a face mask, put it across his face, and I would say maybe just some basic sweatpants, some really thick red shoes that he always wears, and some gloves. Izuku would don this attire as he would basically be walking around the city. Well, no, how old you gotta be? You can be 15 years old to get your permit for your driver's license. You have to be 16. So I would say that Izuku would have a car or some sorts, but he wouldn't. So Izuku would just be walking around the city until he would hear an explosion go off. When this would happen, Izuku would look over and rush forward to see a bunch of villains. Izuku, as they would be robbing maybe a bank, one of the villains would just look like a normal guy with a I would say like an LMG, a large machine gun in his hand. Another guy would have sort of one giant metal hand or giant metal gauntlet in one hand that would sort of be pulsating with power, and the final one would just stretch out of the bank holding a bunch of money. Izuku would run forward to the normal guy that has a gun in his hand. The guy would look confused as he would turn his gun to Izuku and try and fire at him, while Izuku would be running straight. As Izuku would jump in the air, as the guy couldn't really handle the recoil, so he would stumble over a little bit. As Izuku would jump in the air, he would land behind him, as he would put the guy in an arm lock and knee him in his back. After that, Izuku would twist around with the guy's face, with Izuku's entire palm in the guy's face, as he would slam his head into the ground. As Izuku would take the LMG and throw it towards the guy, with a pulsating gauntlet. As the man with the pulsating gauntlet would put out his hand and block it. Or no, not block it. He would put out his hand as the gun would stop midair. As the villain would smile as he would turn the gun back to Izuku, as with his almost telekinesis like sort of popper with the gauntlet, the trigger on the gun will pull back as bullets would begin to fire off at Izuku. Since recoil really doesn't exist, or no, recoil still would exist even with telekinesis, as Izuku would quickly turn over and begin running sideways to get away from the gun. And after a couple of seconds of running sideways, he would jump in the air. But as soon as this would happen, the stretchy man would would move or would stretch his legs to stretch over to Izuku and make his arm or make his fist big as he would punch Izuku towards the ground. Izuku being heavily injured from this, he would quickly get up and run forward. As the stretchy guy would again just make his hand big and swipe at Izuku, almost like a slap. Izuku would have used his momentum to grab his thin arm because it's been stretched out. He would grab his thin arm as Izuku would sort of pin it towards the ground and flip over it simultaneously. As the guy would be slightly hurt. As Izuku would step on his thin arm, making the stretchy guy slam into the ground. Izuku would quickly rush forward, jumping off the stretchy guy's arm as he would be rushing forward. As Izuku would be moving forward, he would throw it a kick until suddenly Izuku would get stopped mid-air, and he would get lifted into the air and slammed into the ground hard. As Izuku would be cratered into the ground, Izuku would slowly get up as he would fully get up to his feet, looking around until suddenly he would see the guy with the pulsating gauntlet smash him across the face. As with this pulsating power in the glove, Izuku would have got sent flying right back into the bank, or at least to the little ceiling part of the bank. The bank would look like a basic, really large bank, or almost like a Greek or Roman type style. Like, it would have the columns, the triangular roof, the markings in the middle of the triangular roof, and the low outstretch of it to keep what the columns are for. Izuku would slam into that low outstick or the little area that the columns are supporting. Izuku would smack into that as he would fall towards the ground. As Izuku would be heavily injured. Izuku would look up and try to do something until suddenly he would glow again, and he would be pulled back towards the man with the pulsating glove, as the stretchy man would reel back his fist, stretching it further back, as he would make it very large, as he would pull his fist forward, punching Izuku across the face, causing a loud crack to be heard out in the area. As Izuku's body, as it was originally moving forward, would take a complete 180, as Izuku's feet would now be facing the man with the pulsating glove, and Izuku's head would be facing the bank. As Izuku would still be moving towards the man with the pulsating glove, but no longer with the telekinesis, as Izuku would fall right in front of him. The man with the pulsating glove would put his thick black boot on Izuku's chest, as he would lift his fist into his air and clutch it. As he would get ready to bring his fist down on Izuku until suddenly small boomerang like things would fly over and hit the man's glove. And then after that, I would say, after that, the stretchy man would look over as he would only see a blur or a red blur fly or ram into him. And after that point, the rest of the Guardians of the Globe would land, facing in front of these two villains. The stretchy guy would try to get up as he would look worried, as he would look over the psychic man, as he would look over to the psychic man. Hey, psychic, what are we supposed to do? What the fuck is that accent supposed to be? New Jersey? I don't fucking know. Don't worry about it. We'll just move. Don't worry about it. We'll just take what we got and dip. It's no problem with it. Besides, at least we made it. At least we made an example out of that kid. As the what is it? The green ghost. The green ghost would be right next to Izuku as she would pick up his head, seeing that Izuku might possibly be dead. As the pulsating man would clutch his fist, open it back up and clutch it again, in a simultaneous motion. As a beam of light would strike down on the ground, as they would go back up, as they would disappear. The Guardians of the Globe, seeing that they were too late and that the perpetrators had gotten all the money, and now they have an injured kid to deal with, they would see this mission as a complete failure, as they would take Izuku towards, I would say, like the more sophisticated hospital that Omni-Man went to, or better yet, that old lady that Mark saved. He would be taken there. As during there, when Izuku would get inside of his subconscious, he would see almost like an alternate version of himself, sort of. This version of Izuku, would tell the original that he is weak. He's far too weak to do what he wants to do. If he truly wants to become a hero, then he has to do only one simple thing. Izuku would raise an eyebrow. He would ask, "What's that?" As suddenly, almost like oh, fuck! That scared me. Holy shit! That's a big ass fucking slug. I was not paying attention. I looked down and see that big ass thing. Oh shit! Almost made me fucking piss myself. Christ! Fucking huge. Anyway, whew. As image of Mark would appear inside Izuku's head, as the alternate version of Izuku would tell him that he needs Viltrumite blood. He needs their cells. Go to Mark, take his blood, and then after that inject it inside yourself, and all will be well. Izuku would think that this is a bad idea, but not knowing anything else to do. As when Izuku would get out the hospital, oh my god! As when Izuku would get out the hospital, his aunt and uncle would be notified as they would walk over to see him. Izuku would be fine, as his aunt and uncle would both scold him for trying to do something so stupid. Oh my. Fucking disgusting. That big ass thing moving slow as shit, leaving a icky trail. Ugh. Anyway. As Izuku and as basically after this, Izuku would go home. Then the very next day they would be going to school. The very next day Izuku would go to school and see Mark. As soon as Izuku would see Mark, he would hear his alternate self talking to him again. Take his blood. That's what we need. As Izuku would pause for a moment. Izuku would remember Mark. Would remember that Mark is still basically a normal kid. So anything like a cut or blood, anything like a cut or a scrape wouldn't be all that weird. So I would say around during PE, while they're all running, I would say they're in the gym and they're racing. No, I would say outside. They're outside and they're racing, and Izuku would be right next to Mark. Izuku would intentionally trip Mark, making him fall to the ground, scraping his knee. After this point, Izuku would turn around and see Mark's knee badly scraped. As Izuku would walk over, as he would touch on Mark's knees, check if he's okay, blah blah blah. As Izuku would get blood on his hands, he would grab Mark and pick him up and walk him to the he would grab Mark and help him walk to the infirmary where Mark would get his knee patched up. But after that point, Izuku would look at his hands as he would sort of like, I guess he would lick it, or almost. But basically, during the time that Mark was injured, Izuku had basically gotten a bunch of blood on his hands. Izuku would have grabbed maybe like a random water bottle that he had, and would have ended up almost sort of scraping the blood into the bottle, and also using some water to make it more liquidy. But even after that point, Mark's Viltrumite cells wouldn't even change. He still may not have the abilities, but he still is Viltrumite. No difference in that. As Izuku would have the blood in hand, as he would pop open the as I would say, he would have like I said in the bottom. Izuku would pop open the cap as he would check the blood down. Actually, he had to inject it. So maybe like they would have like a needle somewhere in the house. I would say that Tsuchi is a doctor. So she would have like a needle somewhere in the house. Izuku would have popped out the back of the needle, put the blood inside. After that, put in the top of the needle back in. Izuku would take the needle, stab it into his bicep as he would pump the blood inside of him. And suddenly after that point, a jolt of almost pain and power would flood through his body. As Izuku's entire being would just overload. As Izuku would be laying in bed when this would happen. Izuku would go to sleep, but after that point, his body would be in immense pain while sleeping. But either way, Izuku would go to sleep. But right after that point, he would wake up the next day, as Izuku would just feel completely different. As the alternate self inside of his head would tell Izuku that he got what he wanted, so he's gonna get what he wants. Izuku would ask him, what does he want? As his alternate self would tell him that he wants him to kill Omni-Man. Izuku would say that that's completely impossible. Actually, no. That's a lie. No. Izuku wouldn't really have an alternate. No. I would say this is the version of Izuku that sort of holds hatred for whoever killed his parents. So I would say, pretty sure his name is fucking Cyberhead. So that's what I'm going to call him for now. But I'm going to search it up when I'm done. So anyway. Yeah, when that would happen, the alternate self would ask him to kill Cyberhead. Izuku would look confused and say Cyberhead, as that version of Izuku would get up in the original's face and tell him that Cyberhead is the one that killed their parents. He's the reason why they're living. He's the reason why they're miserable living here with their aunt and uncle with nobody else. It's his fault. It's all his fault. And he wants him to get revenge for it. So long as he does that, he'll leave him alone forever. Izuku would nod his head in agreement, since Izuku would also want the same thing. So I would say how old Eve's like what, 18, 17, Mark's about the same age that 15 now. So I would say it would be about a couple of years. I would say the teen team has formed for about over a year now. It's been over a year. They formed. Mark and Izuku are in the same high school. They're both teenagers. I would say that since Izuku has Viltrumite blood, I would say that Izuku would also have to wait the same amount of time that Mark did for his powers to activate. since it literally is now the same blood. So basically, my bad for the pause. So basically, soon as Izuku would learn that Mark would get his powers, because I would say that Mark and Izuku are better friends than Mark and Will, than Mark and Will. I would say that. So because of that, I would even say that since the virtual might powers have activated Izuku's body, everything about his body has gotten better. Izuku was already smart and strong before, but now it's just on at this point superhuman. And also superhuman intelligence as well. So Mark would basically be like, yo, hey, Izuku, you'd be a really great sidekick. Or even just my partner. You're smart, ridiculously smart, best grades in our school. Maybe, you could just teach me or give me tech. Things like that. Or even watch the battle from afar and notify me on what's going on. Just stuff like that. Right? So Mark would tell, and also Izuku knows that that Mark will eventually get power. So either way, soon as Izuku had figured out that Mark had gotten powers, Izuku would have went into his closet and opened it up. Inside would be like a really crappy green spandex, or no, not spandex. Like it would almost be like whenever you go to the store and buy a matching pair or matching like a matching jacket and a pair of sweatpants. Izuku would have gotten like a dark green version of it. So Izuku would have gotten like a really crappy, like bright green and white sweatpants and a jacket along with it. Under the jacket, he would be wearing like maybe just another white t-shirt, and of course, like always, the big bulky red shoes. So Izuku would be out patrolling until suddenly a bunch of monsters would have, Izuku would be out on top of a building as he would want to test out his powers. But as soon as this happened, Izuku would have heard an explosion from far away. Would have heard an explosion from far away. And as soon as he heard this explosion, he would get a tingling in his brain and down his back, as Izuku would have almost instinctively dodged out of the way. As a rock would fly past Izuku and slam into the street. Izuku would realize that isn't something as familiar to Omni-Man. As Izuku would put power into his legs as he would jump off the roof at high speeds. He wouldn't be flying, but he would jump off. But how Izuku had jumped off, he didn't really jump off to anything else to land on. So as Izuku was just falling to the ground, he would begin panicking as he would outstretch his hand. As soon as it did, black tendrils would appear out his hand and wrap around, I would say like a flagpole that would be sticking out the side of the building. It would have the American flag. As Izuku's black whips would wrap around that, as he would proceed to swing across the city. And as soon as this happened, Izuku wouldn't really know how to turn either. He would shoot out his black whips again, but it would almost fail similar to before. So as soon as this happened, Izuku would be falling towards the ground, but he would put his arms in an X in front of him, as he would be waiting to hit the ground, but he didn't. As Izuku would be floating there. Izuku would try moving up since he's flying, but he's not flying, he's just floating. He's lost gravity. As Izuku would quickly fall back to the ground. As he would realize that his powers are really cool. As Izuku would look back over and hear more explosions and see more rocks getting thrown around, and also lasers shooting from that area. Izuku would begin running over there as he would realize that he's ridiculously fast. See, as it will only take Izuku around 10 seconds to get over to where he saw the action happening and turn the corner. As soon as what happened, he would see the teen team. He would see Duplicate, Rex, Adam, Eve, and Robot, all combating against two weird biological type creatures. These creatures, one of the creatures would sort of look like the thing that Omni-Man fought in episode 7, that little yellow and green octopus kaiju thing, but on a lot smaller scale, and then also with a tail. And then the next thing that they would be fighting would also, best way to put it, it looks, just imagine like a triceratops and a rhino had mixed together. So its horns are way bigger, sharper, are definitely physically stronger. It's ginormous and has really tough skin. That's literally what it is. That's all it is. Just a really strong, four-horned triceratops or unicorn rhino thing. Boom. Ezekiel would see this going on as he would rush forward. He would jump in the air. As he would reel back, he would jump in the air. As he would see Duplicate jumping back, creating clones of herself as they would be getting smacked, and they would get smacked and be getting split and broken apart by one of the little octopus things' tentacles. I need to give these things names because I can't call them octopus thing and rhino thing. So I would just say kaiju. So I'm gonna call it kaiju, and the other one's gonna be called rhino. Boom, kaiju, rhino. As Kate's body would be getting smacked and splintered around by kaiju, or by kaiju's tentacles, and after that, fucking hell, would be getting smacked and splintered around by kaiju's tentacles, and after that point, ugh, we'll be getting smacked into by kaiju's tentacles, and after that point, oh crap, my dumb ass. As Duplicate would look like she would be in danger. As Duplicate would look like she would be in danger. As Izuku would run and jump forward, as he would reel back his fist and punch forward, or punching kaiju right in his side, or right in its side. As soon as this had happened, Duplicate would look up in confusion, wondering on who the hell that was, or who the hell this guy is. As Izuku would land and look back at and would look back up at kaiju, as kaiju would look over, and as it would look at Izuku, as it would lift up in the air like a horse and slam its feet into the ground and rush forward at Izuku. Izuku would rush forwards as well, as the kaiju would swing a tentacle at it, but Izuku would get the same tingling as earlier as he would duck under it. Then right at that, it would swing another tentacle, then another, and another, and another. And as soon as what happened, Izuku would be dodging it all instinctively, almost basically like Ultra Instinct. Would be dodging all of these tentacles flawlessly. As Izuku would even do like a spin move past one of the tentacles, but as soon as he did, he would jump in the air while spinning. After that, Izuku would extend out one leg while spinning and smack the kaiju, or smack kaiju right on the top of its head. As the kaiju would slam right into the ground. The kaiju would extend its tentacles out even further than it originally reached. After this point, Izuku Izuku would conjure up some black whips in his hands, or in his hands, and would begin dodging again. After this point, two of the tentacles would have wrapped up around Izuku, as the kaiju would have put Izuku towards it while running and opened up its mouth. Izuku would get one hand free as he would extend out the hand with black whips on it, as it would stretch out forward, wrapping up the kaiju's mouth. As Izuku would get his other arm free, and after that point he would rip the tentacles off of him. Then Izuku would proceed to jump into the air behind the kaiju, and extend more black whips to wrap around it and tie it up. After this point, the kaiju would be wrapped up as Izuku would grab the black whip with both hands and spin around in a circle, as he would lift up the kaiju in the air and slam it into the ground, knocking it out. But Izuku, wanting the job, he would jump up in the air and sort of curl up. Nah, would Izuku kill it? I don't think he would. Izuku isn't there yet. Proceed. As Izuku would look over, seeing, as I would say, maybe like, never mind. As while the rest of the team were fighting the rhino, Rex would look over and would yell out, "Who the hell is this guy?" As Robot would tell him that it doesn't matter. He's powerful enough, and he's helping them, and he's helping them. That's all that matters. And Rex would just look forward and say, "Okay." As Izuku would look over at Duplicate, who was just watching the fight, almost in awe on how he was doing everything. As Izuku would walk over and extend his hand, Kate would reach out her hand herself and would thank Izuku for helping her out, as she was almost killed. Izuku would say no problem, but they have more things to worry about. As Izuku would look forward, or as Izuku and Kate would begin moving, as Izuku would run forward, as Kate would realize that Izuku is ridiculously fast. While Izuku was running, Rex would have thrown out his little pellets, coins, same difference. Rex would have thrown out his coins, exploding it atop of the rhino, expecting it to do something, but it didn't. As the rhino would keep pressing on forward. Adam Eve would build up sort of like would conjure up a pink barrier to block the rhino, but the rhino's horns would still pierce through. But before that they could hit Rex, Izuku would have ran and grabbed Rex, or no, Izuku would have leaped forward, grabbed Rex, and moved them out of the way. Izuku would have stood Rex right back up, as Izuku would have stood, as Izuku and Rex would have stood right back up, as Rex would look over Izuku, as he would point at him, as Rex would say that I didn't need your help. Izuku would look over back at Duplicate, as he would ask her, does this guy ever say thank you? As while Kate was running forward, she would duplicate herself, as all of them would collectively say not often. As Izuku would shrug his shoulders, as he would turn around and would tell Rex just to come on, as they need to finish it. After that, Rex would say that Izuku didn't need to tell him that. As the team would now be rushing forward, Robot would be shooting lasers at the robot, as it wouldn't be doing. As Robot would be shooting lasers at the rhino, as it would not be doing anything. As Izuku, Duplicate, and Rex would all be running, as Izuku and Rex would be running forward, Izuku would have gotten in front of the rhino. Would have gotten in front of the rhino, as the rhino would have been rushing towards Robot. Izuku would get in the way, as he would put out his hands, as he would grab the rhino by its horns, Izuku would be stopping the robot by, or stopping the rhino by planting his feet into the ground. As Izuku would be using all his strength, as he would lift the rhino into the air, and after that he would slam it on its side back into the ground. As they would all stand there in shock on what Izuku had just done, and after this point, Izuku would quickly dash over to the underside of the rhino's belly as he would reel back his fist and punch forward, causing the rhino some actual real damage. As the rhino would ski, or as the rhino would be dragged across the ground, by the sheer force of the punch. As the rhino would struggle, as it would eventually get up, and as it would look back at Izuku with anger in its eyes. Izuku would tell the rest of the team that he's got this. As Adam Eve would tell Izuku that he couldn't handle it on his own. Until Robot would interfere, as he would say that he thinks on the contraire. Or the contraire? I don't know. He thinks opposite. I think opposite. I think that this young man could actually beat this thing. And either way, it would be good to analyze on what he can do. After this point, Izuku would be standing in front of the rhino. As the rhino would drag its feet across the ground as it would rush forward. As it would rush forward towards Izuku. Izuku would jump into the air, extending out 4 black whips to grab all of the rhino's horns, as Izuku would jump behind it and pull its head into the air. Pull its head into the air, causing its underbelly to be shown. As soon as this happened, Adam, Eve, Robot, Key, and Rex would all realize on what Izuku had just did. He basically just gave them all an opening. As Adam, Eve, Robot, Rex, and I don't know what Duplicate's gonna do. She can't do anything. As Adam, Eve, Rex, and Robot will all shoot some form of a blast explosion or something for it to hit Rhino's underbelly. As they will all basically just blow out its guts. As Izuku would remove his black whip as the rhino would fall towards the ground. Izuku would walk over as Izuku would walk over, asking them all if they were all okay. As they would all confirm it. As Rex would get up, would walk up to Izuku and ask who he was. Since he came up with a hero name yet, he would just tell him that his name is Izuku Midoriya. Robot would then ask Izuku if he actually ever that does Izuku plan to become a hero. As Izuku would confirm this by saying but he doesn't have a hero name or any form of a good costume. Also he isn't even part of a hero team. As Eve would walk over to Izuku as she would say, well, they always have room for more. They always have room for more. Izuku's eyes would almost light up as he would say, really, truly. As Kate also walk up, telling Izuku that hell yeah, Izuku's not only ridiculously strong, he's cool too. He's kind of cool too, so it would make sense to join. As Izuku, as Robot will also agree, as Rex would be defiant but would also again agree. So Izuku would have already joined the teen team, but he wouldn't know where to really get his suit until that he remembered that one of his friends is the son of Omni-Man, so he can go ask him on where one of his suits is. So all the team members would go home. As Izuku would go to Mark's house, as he would see that Omni-Man is there, as he would ask Omni-Man if he can he would ask Omni-Man where does he go to get his suits. Omni-Man would take Ezekiel to the I forgot what that guy was called. The old man that's inside the little small whatchamacallit. In that little small shop underground where all his hero suits are made. Ezekiel would have ended up getting his Gamma hero suit, those long leggings type things, or better to say the full entire jumpsuit, the long boots, the metal soles, and of course his classic red and thick red shoes, the long gloves, and the entire outfit. The only thing that would really be different is that instead of it being like the little All Might hair type aesthetic, it would just be a normal hood. Then on top of that, the mask would just be a mask. As after this point, Izuku and the teen team, as Izuku would be in the hideout of the teen team, as Izuku would just hang out with them until suddenly, Robot would tell them all that now, or yeah, he would tell them all that another bank is getting robbed by Psychic and by the villain duo Psychic and Rubber. Izuku, as Izuku would stand up as he would tell them all that he has dealt with these guys before, and that he's dealt with these guys before, and he already knows most of their tricks. This shouldn't be that hard. As Rex would ask Izuku, how has he already dealt with these guys? As Izuku would just tell Rex that, well, as Izuku would tell Rex, well, that he did always want to be a hero, and he didn't always have these powers. So when he didn't have the powers and he tried to help out, he fought against those guys and he got his ass pretty much handed to him. Rex, as Kate and Rex would basically tell Izuku, well, what else did he expect? But either way, Izuku and all the team would all suit up as they would all fly out of the loud ass shit. As they will all leave the little bridge area where the team base is, as they will all go off to go and stop those two. But that'll be explained in the next part, as that's where I'm leaving off. As this is AJ the One signing out. Hope you like this part. Please like and subscribe.